Hi, I'm Julia Hamm, President and CEO of the Smart Electric Power Alliance. I'm here today with Ralph Izzo, who is the Chairman of the Board, President and CEO of Public Service Enterprise Group, which is the parent company of Public Service Electric and Gas, which is a utility servicing much of New Jersey. Last summer, PSEG shared its vision of net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Ralph, thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Thanks for having me on, Julia. It's a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, you too. So at PSEG, you and your team have been doing such great work for a long time around energy efficiency, clean energy deployment, and other strategies to reduce carbon emissions. Tell me about the primary drivers behind the company's decision to increasingly focus on those areas.
Well, it's really embedded in our name. The name of the company, as you correctly pointed out, Julia, is Public Service Electric and Gas. And for over a century, we've been trying to do the things to make people's lives better through delivery of electricity and natural gas. And that's always meant trying to be as clean as possible, trying to be as safe as possible, trying to be as reliable as possible. And we've come to realize nowadays that what constitutes clean is evolving. Right? Once upon a time, we didn't know that mercury was a problem. We didn't know that fine particulates were a problem. And we didn't know that carbon dioxide was a problem. But it obviously is. And if you care about the planet, as we do, and you care about your customers' use of that planet, then minimizing your emissions of greenhouse gases has got to be an essential part of your strategy.
Yeah, so it sounds like the climate science is a big part of the driver. How about in terms of customers and your interface with customers on these issues? What's changed in the past 5 years that has influenced your decisions?
A lot has. I mean, our customers are very much aware of the climate challenges. I would put New Jersey in the category of being a very progressive state when it comes to climate science. And at the same time, New Jersey, like so many other places, has come to rely so much more on electricity than we did in the past. It's no longer just a matter of keeping the food from spoiling in the refrigerator or having the air conditioner. It's the very way in which we run our lives. Could you imagine being in the middle of this pandemic without having access to electricity? So the reality of climate change is the severity of storms and the challenges of a resilient grid have increased by multiple factors. So to deliver on this valuable commodity called electricity in the face of this changing climate pattern is something that became quite clear to us. And it probably started before 5 years ago. It really began with Superstorm Sandy and the incredible impact that had on our customer base and the recognition that, oh my goodness, if we're going to be seeing more things like this as a result of climate change, we quickly put 2 and 2 together, and I'm glad to say we came up with 4.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, you mentioned the current situation we're in. We're all here working from our homes in the middle of this health crisis. How might your plans change or be impacted, or how might those drivers be impacted by what's happening with COVID and where we go from here?
Well, we're learning a lot of things about our operations. Many things we knew already. Some of our stuff can be done from a distance. Some of our stuff cannot be done from a distance. So we're having to implement different work practices depending upon the work location. We're finding out some things that we thought we needed to do, we don't need to do. So some work is going away. So we will take this opportunity afterwards to reassess how we used to do things and how we can do things. The tremendous flexibility that working from home provides to caregivers, whether it be caregivers of older family members or young family members, is something that we didn't quite take as much advantage of in the past as we now realize we can. We've actually seen some productivity measures go up in some of our work functions now that they're being done from home. A nuclear power plant refueling outage is difficult to do from a social distancing point of view. So we've had to modify some things there. So we're learning a bunch of stuff about the way in which we have operated and the way in which we might think about operating going forward. And Julia, if I may digress for just a moment, I would be remiss if I didn't extend my sincere condolences to those folks who have been affected by COVID-19 or had a loved one affected by COVID-19. And similarly, my sincere thanks to those folks who are engaged in providing healthcare and support to so many people in need of it. I'm just in awe of their dedication and commitment.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And all of the essential workers, including the utility frontline workers, who all have to be out there and putting themselves at risk in order to make sure that, as you said, in the case of electricity, having this such essential, truly essential service that all of us absolutely could not get by with, even more today in today's current environment than normal.
That's true, I'm also impressed, obviously, by our own employees. I do believe I thank them on a regular basis. I probably can't thank them enough for what they do. And they're not only getting the job done, but they're getting it done safely. Our infection rate, for lack of a better expression, actually is below the general population of the New York and New Jersey region. And we do serve both Long Island and New Jersey. So that's an indication to me that our employees are getting the job done and they're getting it done safely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, so, any thoughts on how going through all of this may impact your progress towards your decarbonization, getting to net zero carbon emissions by 2050? Or, are we going to be able to turn this into an opportunity, or is it going to slow us down?
No, I think we will be able to turn it into an opportunity. And I'll give one caveat to that in a moment. I don't want to get carried away with a lot of uncertainty that is still in the learning stage. But we are beginning to get repeated indications that, for example, COVID-19 is having more severe consequences in those areas that have lower air quality. Mm-hmm. So the need to clean up our energy supply, which we've all been marching toward and making good progress, maybe just got a little bit extra urgency added to it in this globally interconnected world in which we live. I'm not suggesting we're going to have regular pandemics, but what happens in location A clearly has an effect on what the lifestyle is in location Z. And that's not going to change, right? We're not going to build barriers around ourselves and prohibit that kind of global interchange. And if a pandemic, which possibly lends itself to several months of resolution from a scientific point of view through immunizations or through medication that can treat the symptoms, is so disruptive in terms of its consequences. Can you imagine what climate change will mean to this planet? Because in that case, you can't come up with a quick fix, right? The damage builds up over years, and the fix, just given the residency of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, will take a long time. I mean, the amount of inertia in the global atmospheric system is enormous. So I think that this really points out the nature of the connectedness that we share around the globe, and anything that affects the planet is not remote from us here in the United States. So I think that will motivate people to do more. And last but not least, there is this issue of the amount of fiscal stimulus we need to provide and the absence of revenues to offset that. I am hopeful, maybe Pollyannish, that will motivate a price on carbon in some way, shape, or form as a revenue stream. I'm a big fan in charging people for doing things that they shouldn't do, and not a fan of charging people for things that they should do. So I like wealth creation. I don't like pollution. So I think we should have a price on pollution and not a price on wealth creation. So I think those are motivating factors. The caveat I offer is that we are so appropriately focused right now on COVID-19 that there may be some regulatory lag that creeps into offshore wind permitting decisions and various other things that we're working on.
Yeah, I think there likely could be some short-term slowdowns in progress, but hopefully we get past those, as you said, with a greater social awareness of what it's like. Many people, especially if you think about millennials, they haven't really lived through a real crisis before. And this really makes it real. This time it was a health crisis, but next time it could be a crisis that impacts the power grid. And my sense is there may be a greater interest in people having a greater self-reliance, being able to be self-sufficient in all different aspects of their lives to some degree, as well as from an industry standpoint, and an increasing focus on the importance of resiliency, as there has been since Superstorm Sandy. But this is just yet one more proof point that we have to make sure that we can be resilient and bring the system back up and keep the power on in order for society to be able to function.
Absolutely. And perhaps it's looking for a silver lining, but people are reporting on better air quality in certain regions because of the absence of vehicle traffic. Well, wouldn't it be great to have that same air quality with the vehicle traffic through electrification of our economy with a cleaner energy supply, providing the electricity to drive those vehicles and to power our homes?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, transportation electrification is one of SEPA's focus areas. So we couldn't agree more that we have to keep making progress on that front and get through the current crisis and keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
So, well, on that note, Ralph, do you have any advice for other leaders, particularly in this industry, and how do you strike the right balance between taking care of job number one, which is making sure that you have, safety for your employees and your customers, and that you continue to provide safe, affordable, reliable electricity to your customers in this critical time, but at the same time also continuing to keep your eye on the ball and make progress on these longer term, but really strategically and societally important issues like carbon reduction?
Yeah, so whenever anybody gives me that kind of a opportunity, I love it, because there's a 3-part vision that we have for the future and a 5-part strategy to achieve it. The 3-part vision is very simple, that we believe people want to use as little energy as they need to support their lifestyle. And that the energy that they use, they want it to be cleaner than ever before, and they want it delivered more reliably than ever before. So less of it, cleaner, and much more resilient, much more reliable. And the 5-part strategy to achieve that, we believe, has the following components. First of all, we ought to protect the existing clean supply we have. And we're a big fan of protecting existing nuclear plants. We think it's crazy to watch 50% of the nation's carbon-free energy succumb to temporarily low prices, and temporarily maybe 10 or 20 years, low prices in natural gas, when you think about the long-term health of the planet, that we really should do all we can to preserve those nuclear plants, because keeping them online is cheaper than anything else in terms of other supply options.
Right.
And we ought to invest in other carbon-free supply options, be that offshore wind, onshore wind, solar, rooftop solar, grid connected, the whole gamut. Third, we are a huge believer in energy efficiency. No one wakes up, not even yours truly, wakes up in the morning and says, I can't wait to use a kilowatt hour. I may wake up in the morning and say, I can't wait to watch that television program, or I can't wait for some friends to come over, or I can't wait to get to the office and do something, all of which requires electricity. But electricity is a means to an end, not an end in and of itself. Fourth, we think there needs to be a price on carbon, because that'll help us choose between energy efficiency, renewables, and nuclear power. And the answer will be different in different locations. It might be wise to do solar in location X. Maybe it's wise to do wind in location Y and nuclear in location Z. I suspect we'll find that energy efficiency makes sense across all the X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, absolutely.
And last but not least, the electrification of the economy, beginning with transportation. We think if we do those 5 things, put a price on carbon, preserve nuclear, invest in renewables, invest in energy efficiency, and electrify the economy, we will bring about that future where people are using less, what they use is cleaner, and we can deliver it more reliably than ever before.
Well, on that note, Ralph, perfect note to end on. I want to say thank you for taking the time to talk to me today, but more importantly, thank you for your leadership and everything you and all the employees at PSEG are doing to help drive us towards a carbon-free energy future. So thank you.
Likewise, Julie, thank you for your leadership at SEPA and all that your members do as well.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. This is just one in a series of video interviews that we're doing with utility CEOs around the country. So please check out SEPA's website at sepapower.org or subscribe to our YouTube channel.